From Hyderabad, Professor Hargopal is visiting faculty at the Bangalore National Law School. Sudha Ramalingam of the PUCL, well-known human rights activist. Dr. Udipan Mukherjee, writer and analyst of the Maoist movements in India. M.V. Bhaskar, former DGP Andhra Pradesh. My first question is to General G.D. Bakshi. Do you think there is any appropriate night than tonight to ask the human rights activist, General Bakshi, to come out with an unequivocal condemnation without ifs and buts? Because every time we ask human rights activists to take a position on such brutalities, they say, we condemn it, but. And then they go on to, speak a lot about the Indian state. Is the time tonight, General Bakshi, in your view, to remove those ifs and buts?
Absolutely, Arnab. Where human rights stem from genuine human compassion and concern for decency, one has all the support for them. But it is extremely unfortunate that what we are seeing in this country is a set of motivated foreign-funded NGOs creating an enabling environment for terrorism of this sort, for rapists of the Delhi sort, and crying crocodile tears. And you see, the hypocrisy of their response is so evident. When there is any atrocity against by the terrorists against the security forces, it is blanked out. We are given the insult of being told, look, you are paid. You are paid to get killed. I am paid to die a decent death. I am not paid to die and be shut up and cut up and slaughtered. Like a pig stuck on the rye. I mean, what is this? Please see two sets of situations today that your soldiers who are doing their utmost for you, who have laid down their lives for you, are facing. One, on the international border, the line of control.
Truly.
They are people, if they die, if they get killed, that's fine.
Remove the ifs and buts.
They are being mutilated, tortured.
On the border and inside.
What are we told? The peace process must go on.
Let's hear the other side.
What are we told? The peace process is unstoppable. Who cares for your soldiers? If there are these CRPF troopers fighting in the internal defense of this dear country.
And this is what has happened to them.
Look at the way they are treated.
This is what has happened.
Is there a word of condemnation?
This is what has happened to them, and I want to repeat it deliberately so the people of this country know what we are talking about. Before I go to Professor Hargopal and Sudha Ramalingam, who I am sure will respond without any ifs and buts today. One injured Jawan's back was fitted with an IED. Another Jawan's intestine was taken off to fit the IED, the improvised explosive device. A third's tongue was slashed, his eyes were gouged. Surgical implantations were carried in one body. In two bodies, the bombs were planted externally. The photographs of the dead body of the Jawans suggest that the inhuman treatment was meted out, which include eyes being gouged, tongue slit, beheaded, and chopped arms. Professor Hargopal and Sudha Ramalingam, who do you think would do this? Would any civilized person, any human being do this?
Would you like me to answer?
Definitely.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Professor. First to you, and then I'll come to Ms. Ramalingam.
Yeah. No, I think, see, the point is that supposing I say that I condemn this entire mindless violence of the Maoists and stop here, then if I have answered your question satisfactorily, I stop here. But if we want that, we should go deeper into the process and see that these things do not get repeated, what is that we should do? Perhaps there will be a lot of difference between the civil liberties perspective and the police perspective, and these are two different perspectives. So you can keep on blaming the human rights activists, and human rights activists can go on blaming the police. But if the matter stops there, then I think the civil society will have to be a dumb spectator of what is happening in the country between the two groups, and there is an armed conflict, and these things are happening. So therefore, I think if you can find a convergence point where you think that there is a possibility that both of us collectively go into the deeper causes, then I think I am willing to debate. But if you say that there is no hope for any further debate.
Professor, simply put, please, let me place a very simple and sensible argument before you. You were named by
Where do you
by
stand
these
on this
Maoist
moral
terrorists.
argument?
One second. Professor, you were named by the Maoist terrorists as their interlocutors. They want your interlocutor during the negotiations for the release of Sukhma District Collector Alex Paul Menon, if I'm not mistaken, and you agreed. Am I correct? This happened in April last year.
Yeah. Yes, I have gone. Yes, I have
So
gone.
I just want to know today whether you feel if you were ever to be approached for anything, because you are for a political solution and not a military approach to the problem of Maoist terrorism, would you say that having done what they have done, placed bombs in the intestines of dead CRPF Jawans, that you will feel embarrassed to ever negotiate anything on behalf of such animals?
No, but you know that mediation never takes place on behalf of one. Mediation always takes place on behalf of the two. Mediation does mean talking to
So
both
that
the
is-
parties.
Okay.
You know, in the case of the Orissa, when the Maoists
sir.
suggested, Chief
Sir, this
Minister contacted us and requested
Sir,
us to
this-
intervene.
sir,
We have
this you
intervened.
see-
In the case of Chhattisgarh, government contacted
this-
us and
sir,
they
this-
said that,
sir, this-
please intervene, that we have gone.
Sir, I am putting your argument back to you. And Sudha Ramalingam, in an article on the Right of Life, said, and I'm coming to Dr. Udipan Mukherjee, and after that I want to see Sudha Ramalingam's argument hold intellectually after this barbarism. Udipan Mukherjee, I'm coming to you. Sudha Ramalingam, you said this: while jurisprudentially rich and considered immutable, in reality the right to life, taken in its strict and narrow sense, is easily dispensed with in the name of security, terrorism, Naxalism, or any populist concern. Apply that logic, Sudha Ramalingam, and prepare to answer me as I ask you how you will apply the right to life in the context of what has happened to the CRPF Jawans. Dr. Udipan Mukherjee wanted to contradict you, I suppose. Professor R. Gopal, yes, Dr. Mukherjee.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Goswami. Well, as far as I'm concerned, I guess we don't need to prop up any thesis to buttress our arguments over here. I'd like to pose rather a few questions to our learned activists. And I think not only me, but I think the whole country would like or desire to have those questions posed before them. Number one, first question of mine is, what exactly is the concept of human rights or definition of human rights that the activists would like to have us believe in India, as they interpret it in India? Number two, the second question, would they kindly clarify their stance in this ongoing insurgency? Because that is very important. Because unless and until they clarify their stance in this insurgency...
No, how do you want to clarify the stance? Be specific, and then I'll take it to Sudha Ramalingam. How do you want her to clarify her stance?
Exactly. I mean, I would like to have Mrs. Sudha Ramalingam to clarify the stance of human rights activists in this ongoing insurgency, because unless and until they clarify their stance, it would appear that they are colluding with the Maoists covertly. That is my point.
Yeah, and I'm sure, Sudha Ramalingam, there'll be no ifs and buts in your answer today. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Arnab, for giving me a little time, first of all. See, I would like to first and foremost tell you that we are putting the cart before the horse. PUCL has always been condemning violence of any form, whether it be by the state or by other organizations rather. We have never stated that anyone should be killed. Every life is precious, whether it be the persons who belong to the state forces or whether they belong to the civil society or other organizations. Having said that, all that we try to say is
comes the but.
Uphold the rule of law.
There comes the but.
Kindly wait. No, kindly wait. Without a but, we cannot answer anything. You don't try to answer for me. If you're going to answer for me, you don't need to call me to this debate. You'll have to listen to me.
So you bring the but in.
Nothing is between, there's no only white and grey, white and black. There are lots of shades of grey between white and black.
I want you to address the issue of the, 1 minute. General Bakshi want to come in. I actually wanted to go back to MP Bhaskar Rao. 1 minute. General Bakshi wants to interject.
What human rights is. Kindly, understand what human rights is. See, we have the ordinary Indian Penal Code, ordinary criminal law, which would deal with offences committed by ordinary citizens.
No, Sudha Ramalingam. Sudha Ramalingam.
Madam, these are strong moral imperatives that are being discussed. How do you fight? What are you prepared to do to achieve your ends?
You are trying to belittle everything. You are trying to
please listen. Give me half a second.
Paint everyone black.
Give me half a second. In a battlefield, we have medics. You know, they wear Red Cross. And armies don't kill them, even if they are of the enemy side. Whom are you trying to kill when you try and plant IEDs in the bodies of a dead and dying man? Instead of giving him water, instead of giving him medicine, you know, you are saying there have to be ifs and buts. There are no shades of grey in a moral imperative like this. It is black and white. You please define yourself. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I have fought on battlefields. Red Cross people are not killed. Whom are you targeting when you put the
we don't want anyone to be killed, whether it be Red Cross or state or civil society.
Sir, but
I mean,
here's
you are
a very
wretched. The way you fight shows you who you are.